You're watching Forget Being Cool.
Let me tell you something, John. Pac Man is one of the greatest arcade classics of all time, but it does not belong on the NES.
It's time for the button discussion.
I could agree with that. It's weird. Why did they put that on there?
No, you know what, John? This doesn't make any sense. They put it on there because, guess what? At the time, in the 80s, right? Pac Man was the biggest deal in the world, and it was on everything. And people, infamously talk about the Atari port of it, right? Didn't work. It was bad. The sound was terrible. Well, guess what? The NES version is almost worse.
Okay, so when we started talking about this, when you were telling me that this was going to be the next one we do, I told you I'd go through and play it, and you made some comment about how something's wrong.
It is wrong.
And I played through it, and I think from everything people say, and I'm not like some big Pac Man aficionado, I think that's the word.
I would say I am. I'll tell you where the best version to play this game is. This is kind of a joke, but not really. Is in Pac Man World 2 in the arcade. You can play the arcade version of Pac Man and Miss Pac Man and all the other weird Pac Man spin off arcade games that are exactly the same.
Okay, but people say that when people talk about Pac Man and how much they love Pac Man, they're normally talking about Mrs. Pac Man. I don't know what the difference is. And when I played Pac Man on my NES Classic, right, I didn't notice anything weird.
Oh, here's what it is, John. It's this. I got to pull this out here. It's this. This mushy, terrible D-pad. It absolutely ruins the experience. If you had one of those big, analog stick controller things that hooks up to the NES, I'm sure it was actually probably fine.
Okay, but that was the only issue you have. So what's the difference between Pac-Man and Mrs. Pac-Man?
Miss Pac-Man it's pink and there's different mazes. That's it.
Is that really?
Yes. The ghosts move a little bit differently. People like the way that the action plays that a little better. But I don't know why people would be freaking out that they put regular Pac-Man on the NES Classic.
I don't know. So here's my biggest issue, especially because we're going through all these and we're doing it on the NES Classic, right?
Mm-hmm.
And my issue is that with the NES Classic, and I think as we have discussed, is that there is just that little bit of input lag, right?
Oh, but it's so slight.
It is, but when you are going across at whatever decent speed that Pac-Man goes across, and you're trying to make that turn at just the right moment, like there have definitely been times that I've missed that turn, and I think that is why.
See, John, it's funny that you would blame the input lag versus me blaming the D-pad for making those incorrect turns.
See, okay, so we both have our controllers right here in front of us, and I'm sitting here like playing with mine as I do, and I don't think it feels mushy. Like my controller doesn't seem to feel weird and mushy.
I can actually grab the Super Nintendo Classic controller, which is funny because I was just standing. I think the D-pad, and I think it's this way in the original NES, it just feels kind of, it's like a squishier, like it mushes together differently than it does now. Like it's basically the exact opposite of a 360 D-pad.
Okay.
Which
is
the worst.
I don't know what to do with that. Oh, okay.
It clicks. This doesn't click. Like even if I put it right up here against the mic, like there is very little.
Let's see about mine. No, there's not a lot of click, and I don't remember. Like I have an actual NES controller behind me.
Pac-Man,
that's in good condition, and I don't know.
Pac-Man is one of my favorite arcade games. Like it is truly one of those experiences when you go to like a Big Dave and Buster's and they have that giant, like lit up, like basically I don't know what to call this, life-sized giant television screen. Like it's as tall as you, and you get to play Pac-Man. It's something that like I feel like I have to do. I don't know why. So I like this game a lot. It's really fun. I'm terrible at it. I've never been great at Pac-Man. I remember the first time I got to that part where like you get to the first like 3 stages, you get through the first 3 mazes, and there's like a little cutscene with Pac Man eating the
Yeah.
ghost and running around, whatever. Anyway, John, that's all. That's all I
I
wanted
don't
to
know what you're
complain
talking
about
about
Pac Man.
anymore. So here's okay. Here, a couple interesting things, just Pac-Man in general, right?
Okay.
One is like the table where it's like the table and you're looking down at it, you kind of like sit down. You know what I'm talking about? Like that thing.
Yes.
I love that so much because it's a great place to like set your beer while you're playing. The other thing is that my favorite fact about Pac-Man is that the original title of the game was Puck Man,
Which
but
is terrible.
but either people were or they well, people either were or they were worried people would like scrape off part of the P and really change that first word.
Right. Which I'm sure really would have happened. It's a
Yeah.
fair
So okay,
and concerning argument, John.
yes, yeah, and it probably would have Hundo P happened over and over and over again, like every arcade. Okay, so here's the question though: is it is it still fun long term? Like it's one of those games that you can obviously like, okay, I'm bored for a few minutes. I'm gonna go jump in and play this, and you hop in, you play it for a few minutes, do a couple of things, but like, is it a game that people nowadays,
Oh,
with the exception of just those,
there will always be the people who competitively play for higher and higher scores in Pac-Man. Those will always exist. People will always want
yes,
to get the highest score possible. That will be a thing. I don't know. Like, I didn't grow up in the 80s, right? I wasn't even born yet. Like, I can't even imagine a time
okay,
where that was a thing that people did, like, normally. Like, I still imagine people kind of walking game to game, kind of like you do now, or you walk up, you play around a Pac-Man, you do your best. Maybe if you liked it, you keep playing a little bit more than you do now. But then you just move on to Galaga or whatever the next big arcade game next to it was. So, like, you say this,
well, but
like,
I
do
also,
people play it long term? Like, I don't know if people ever really did play Pac Man long term.
I mean, okay, so and we'll leave out the people that are just like hardcore Pac-Man people, right?
Right.
Because they're obviously going to be the anomaly here. But I mean, there's always been arcades, but I would bet that a lot of the play of this game happened like at bars that had a few games in them, right? And so I think people would. I think people would sit there and have their drinks and hang out with their friends and go back and forth to see who would go the longest and whatever else. And also, I mean, the
But
number of good games were limited.
I would still argue that people do that now. 16-bit bar and arcade, which is a barcade, because that's what we're calling these now, where you pay for drinks and all the games are free. Like, that is a thing that people do up there. But it's when
Yeah.
people are hanging out. It's in a social setting. It's this still, you're competing against the other people in this bar because that's where the scores are saved. So it's interesting to say, like,
So
we brought NES, we brought Pac-Man to the NES. We brought it home. We put it on a home console. It let people kind of, master the mazes because they're the same mazes. But it's such a weird, it's such a weird game to throw on the NES Classic to me that it doesn't even make sense. Like, it doesn't fit in these are classic NES games. It feels like this is the classic arcade game, and where it belongs is originally in the arcade.
I, I agree, right? Like, so another classic arcade game that is on the NES Classic is the original Donkey Kong, right?
Right.
And we will be doing a thing talking about that at some point. But that one feels, well, partly it feels better because it's actually a Nintendo game, right? It,
Right.
it is the game that basically saved the Nintendo company. Um,
It's a
but
historical
it kind of
moment
makes
to
more sense.
it's a historical moment to prove it was on the NES at the time too. Like, that has a purpose.
Yes. I also think it's more fun, even though it's a way to put it. Like it's still a game where you're just literally trying to go and go and go and go and beat the next level and beat the next level, which is exactly what Pac-Man is, right? You just go through and keep trying to conquer the level.
Mm.
But I just think it's such a better, in my opinion, it's a more fun game with more stuff to do, and makes so much more sense to have something like that than to have Pac-Man on the NES. I agree. I don't get it. I don't know why they did it.
So if you could play this game, John, because this is my favorite thing to do with these games, where would you play this now? Like, if you were to say, I want to play Pac Man, what are you going to boot up? Because I'm not going to boot this up. This is not my choice. I mean, I could walk up the street to the barcade, buy a $2 Miller Lite, and sit down and play around a Pac Man if I wanted. Which is probably what I do, because it would be on a full classic arcade machine with the the joysticks, the buttons, the whole yard.
And that's exactly how I would want to do it, right? I mean, ideally, like my ideal world, whenever cause I'm moving, so after I move and potentially buy a house after that, like I want like a mini arcade in my house. Like I want a room that's all for recording and stuff like that. I want a couple arcade games, and Pac-Man's one I wouldn't mind having, but I would want it to be the flat table. If there's an ideal way, it's on that flat table. I just want to sit randomly want to and go through and play the game. I don't care to play it on a home console. I don't care to play it on my TV.
No, and it doesn't matter in modern day to play it on a TV at home. John, I think that handles Pac-Man.
Yeah, man, I want you. Yeah, are you gonna give it a rating like you made me do every other time?
I'll give it a rating. Pac-Man's a great arcade game, so it gets a 100%. It's a hundo. No, let's stop. Calm down. It doesn't even belong on a home console. It's like a 67% and like a,
no, wait,
like
hold
a
on.
B plus, like a B plus, because it's still a great game. I still love this game.
I'm still confused on our rating scale if we're doing it more like a school where you have to get like a 70 to pass, or if we're doing it on like an actual scale of 0 to 100 in the video game rating style. I give it 1.25 thumbs up.
The point of this is that our scale doesn't matter, John, but we're still going to put it on a scale because that's the point.
Okay, well that's why I give it 1.25 thumbs up.
65.
It's kind of like this. Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
65% solid B plus. Doesn't belong on the NES though.
Dude, this connection is not great on my end.
I'm aware.
No,
Guys,
it definitely doesn't.
We will see you next time.
For more great discussions, hit that subscribe button or visit forgetbeingcool.com.